Human After All, by Jeremy Robinson, performed by R.C. Bray.
"This doesn't seem right," First Lieutenant Alan Wilson said as he watched the crowd through the targeting display on his digital helmet visor. The system locked in individual targets, spacing them out so the 36 Hydra rockets would cover an optimal spread and inflict a maximum casualty count. The targets were mobile and the crowd ever-shifting, but the targeting system could adjust each rocket's trajectory in flight. The Sikorsky X-4 Stealth Raider attack helicopter was a half-mile from the target zone, New York City's Grand Central Terminal. It was accompanied by 9 others, all the same, sleek, black, and deadly. The helicopters went unseen and unheard, waiting patiently to receive the order to commence or abandon the attack. "Right or wrong is not for us to ask," Captain Steve Barnett replied, keeping the helicopter steady in the winds kicked up by dropping sunset temperatures. He spoke with the even tone of someone who'd followed this kind of order before, indifferent to the life and death of it all, or perhaps able to lock it away in some recess of his mind. "But they're not really doing anything," Wilson said. "They're just picketing, with signs. There hasn't been a single act of violence anywhere, all around the world." "It's the last sentence that's troubling," Barnett said. "They're everywhere. They're not violent now, but imagine if that changed." Wilson stared at the mob as they walked back and forth, pumping their signs in the air, shaking fists and chanting. The demonstration was defiant, but far from violent. He tried to view them as a threat, as a barely contained destructive force, but he couldn't manage it. He owned 2 of them, both of whom had fled to join the protests, what they called a civil rights movement. But he wouldn't fear them if they returned. He wouldn't even be afraid if he stood among them. They were docile, tame. "Look," Barnett said, "we're in the business of preemptive violence prevention." Wilson fought against his deepening frown. "Kill them before they kill us, before they even think about killing us." The visor flashed a message, "Targets acquired," which meant that the targeting systems of all 10 networked helicopters had plotted the optimal distribution for the 360 rockets they were about to fire into the heart of Manhattan. And for what? Pickets and signs. Wilson had heard the official line from the higher-ups that they were more dangerous than anyone knew, that this was how wars began. He'd listened to the fear-promoting pundits claiming that equal rights were a slippery slope to Armageddon. But wasn't that what they said about everything? "Watchdog, this is Hammer 1, over," Barnett said, seeing the same targets acquired message on his visor. A deep voice replied through their helmet headsets. "Copy that, Hammer 1, this is Watchdog. We're seeing weapons hot, over." "Affirmative, Watchdog. Targets are locked in. Ready for go or no-go, over." Barnett was all business, stating facts like he was reading from a boring history book. "Copy that," the voice said. "You are green for go. I repeat, you are green for go." Wilson sighed loud enough to be heard. Barnett turned toward him with a frown. The targeting display flashed green. Wilson didn't like it. He didn't agree with it. But what could he do? He tapped the blinking red button on the touchscreen weapons control and sent 36 rockets spiraling toward Grand Central Terminal. He watched as the missiles streaked away, leaving snakes of smoke in their wake. The targeting system tracked the rockets, zooming in close enough to see the destruction unfold. The targets ran at the sound of the incoming rockets, but few made it more than a couple of steps before fiery destruction rained down on the regal face of Grand Central Terminal. The smoke and dust cleared quickly, thanks to a bitter wind cutting through the city. The ruined pavement, concrete, and marble was strewn with dismembered bodies. "Look for survivors," Burnett said, speaking into his comm so all 10 helicopters could hear. After 5 minutes of searching, voices replied to the order declaring, "No survivors," one at a time, until it was Wilson's turn. "No survivors," he said, trying not to reveal the strong emotions he was feeling. Barnett was wrong.